Is everybody? Yeah, are you checking up some of your habitual actions and the results they bring? Yeah. But think also about positive actions, habitual positive actions that you do. Yeah. And remember that we can change, that we do not have solid, concrete personalities. Yeah, contrary to how we think of ourselves and others, but we're very, things are fluid. And a good example of this is one of our cats, Mudita. Okay, when Mudita first came to the Abbey, she was she was still pretty kittenish, wasn't she? And she hid under the front step of the Ananda across the way, under there. She wouldn't come out. We had to entice her with some food because she was hungry and feral, and she started eating the food, and then Venerable Yeshe took a liking to her and brought her in the house and all. But at first, boy, she was like, she was terrified, and you couldn't pet her. She would just freak, and she'd run away. And and really, really quite difficult. Do you remember how she used to be? And then slowly, Venerable Yeshe and then Venerable Jampa worked on her and just, let her be, showed her affection, was very accepting, even because when you tried to pet her, she would go like this with her claws, and you had some scratches as a result. But gradually, she began to really mellow to the point where she would sleep with Venerable Jampa curled up here. And now, when a Venerable Deki sits outside, Mudita comes and sits in her lap, which she would never have done years ago. Never. Yeah. And so, we may say, well, it's a cat. But if a cat can change diametrically so much like that, then we can change too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and why, if she can do it, we can do it, because we at least have the power of thinking about things and sorting out what's true and what's not, what we believe and what we don't, what conditioning we've had that is worthwhile and what we want to discard. We have the power to think about that. And so, yes, we can change. Don't put yourself in the doghouse, by thinking, oh, I'm just this way and there's nothing I can do about it, because that's not true. Okay. Now, first question on the subject of cats and karma. That's what it says. Yeah. Can they create merit, and could I help them gain a more desirable rebirth? I don't think that it's difficult for animals to have a clear intention, of virtue, because so many things are, just from the perspective of this life. So what brings them pleasure in this life, what they don't like in this life. Yeah. But they can create merit with respect to what we call holy objects, or virtuous objects. And so that's why we circumambulate them around the Buddha in the garden. We're breaking them into going around the Buddha hall. Yeah, there was a chipmunk out there yesterday who was, a few days ago, almost doing a whole circumambulation. Yeah, in and out of the barrels, the things of insulation. Yeah, and I swear that chipmunk was going faster than I could walk. But, okay, but showing them images of the Buddhas, have reciting text so that they hear that, reciting mantras. So all these kinds of things put virtuous imprints in the mind streams of animals. So that's what we try to do. Some people have sent me pictures because they listen to the teachings online and their dog is like right in front of the computer looking at everything like this. So, yeah, so that's how we do it. And it's from our side, saying these, doing the chanting and reciting texts and so on, so that they hear. It's part of the generosity of sharing the Dharma. So, it's a way to start sharing the Dharma. Maybe we can't teach, but, we can do it with animals. I had one friend that I stayed with in San Francisco some years ago, and her flat was filled with cockroaches. Not the big ones like they have in Hong Kong, but the more middle-sized ones. And she dealt with it by seeing them as her future life's disciples. And so she would chant mantra out loud and, imagine them, getting these Dharma imprints in their minds. And then she's going to have a lot of disciples in her next life. Yeah. So this is one way to do it. And that's why also when an animal is dying and when a human being is dying, because after all, we are animals of sorts, it's good to be chanting mantra, doing practices, reading texts, so that people, when they're in the process of dying, and animals too, when they're in the process of dying, they hear these kinds of things, because again, it creates a certain ambience and peacefulness. And even though many times people or animals can't understand the language, they can understand the vibe, so to speak. Yeah, so it's a good thing to do. And that's what we've done when our two founder cats died. Yeah, as we were sitting around them, chanting, reading texts, and the first one who died, we put him in another room when he was dying, thinking he would be, just want to be quiet and die peacefully. He came right back into the room where everybody was eating. He wanted to be in the middle of it all. And as a result, a retreat was going on at that time. And everybody in the retreat would, at different times, we took turns of saying prayers to this cat, for this cat. Yeah. So this is ways to help. Yeah. And if you're with somebody who practices another religion, and you're able to help while they're dying, if they can understand things, then say, speak in terms of their religion. This is not the time to convert anybody. Yeah, it's the time, whatever they're familiar with, their outlook, to speak in terms like that. And then, if they're asleep or in a coma or whatever, you can do Buddhist practices out loud, and it plants good seeds in their mind stream. Okay. Are all causes either virtuous or non-virtuous? Known. Okay, there is such a thing as neutral karma as well. So, when you're mopping the floor, sweeping, You can hopefully do it with at least a neutral mind instead of like, why is it me that has to do this? Then you change it into a negative action. But, often these kinds of things are neutral actions. But the mind training practices show us how to change these neutral actions into something that's virtuous. So, for example, you can think that you're cleaning away the defilements of sentient beings when you're mopping the floor or sweeping the floor or washing the dishes, lots of opportunities to think, wow, wouldn't it be nice to be able to clean away the defilements of different sentient beings so that their lives were more harmonious and more peaceful, and their deaths were easier and their rebirths were good, So it's good to think like this. So I struggle with the subject of euthanasia as a black and white cause of killing, especially with animals who are suffering. Difficult to ignore the possibility of compassion here. Please help. If a human being is having intense pain when they're dying, would you euthanize them? I don't think so. Yeah, if you don't want to euthanize a human being, why euthanize an animal? Yeah, so the suffering of death is the suffering of death, no matter whose it is. Yeah, and so similarly with an animal, if they're suffering, play, you can have tapes of chanting, tapes of teachings, and let the animals listen to it. Yeah, we see it as, oh, they're suffering and death is stopping their suffering. Okay, but where are they going to be reborn? Yeah, when we asked Lama Yeshe that question, he said, if you have the power to know where that animal is going to be reborn and that they will have a better rebirth if they die now, then okay to euthanize, because you know that they'll be having a happier rebirth. But if you don't know where they're going to be reborn, yeah, in the attempt to stop the suffering of this life, you may be sending them quicker to the more suffering in future lives. Yeah, so I think good, let them die naturally. That's what we did with our 2 cats. Yes, they were having seizures, yeah, and we would talk them through the seizures, and they were surrounded by a lot of love during that time. Yeah, because I think sometimes the euthanasia with animals is we can't stand to see them suffer. Yeah, so we're trying to stop our suffering of seeing them suffer. Yeah, but we don't know where they're going to be reborn unless some of you have those powers. I certainly don't. Yeah. Can karma be seen as a higher power or more of a universal balance of sorts? What is a higher power? Yeah, I'm not sure what that means. Karma is just, it's like gravity. It's the way things are. Yeah, it's so when we call it the law of karma and its effect, it's like the law of gravity, or any kind of law of physics or whatever like that. Yeah, so it's just the way things work. So, so I'm not sure what a higher power is or a balance of sorts. You know, nobody is trying to balance things. It's just a system of this cause brings that result. Yeah, no rewards, no punishments, just causes bringing results that correspond to the cause. Okay, so that's why we say virtue produces only pleasant experiences, never unpleasant ones, and non-virtue never produces pleasant experiences, but always unpleasant ones. Okay. Okay. So we will continue on with the text. There's some more things from the point that we talked about yesterday, the verse. So I want to go into that a little bit further. But first, the visualization of the Buddha surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, ourselves surrounded by all sentient beings. I often put the people in governmental powers of many countries. I imagine them around me, and when thinking of leading others and taking refuge and generating compassionate bodhicitta, I think of those people too.
To the teacher endowed, transcendent destroyer, one thus gone, foe destroyer, completely and fully awakened one, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, one gone to bliss, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, you, the Buddha endowed, transcendent destroyer, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I bow. With your body's form supremely fine, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best supreme guide, to you I bow. With the supreme science, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I bow. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not incomparable, wise one, to you I bow. Great, compassionate protector, all-knowing teacher, field of merit and good qualities, vast as an ocean, to the Tathagata I bow. Through purity, freeing from attachment, through virtue, freeing from the lower realms. Unique, supreme, ultimate reality, to the Dharma that is peace I bow. Having freed themselves, showing the path to freedom too, well established in the trainings. The holy field endowed with good qualities, to the Sangha I bow. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind completely, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew, a bubble. A dream, a flash, a lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through this merit may sentient beings attain the state of all-seeing, subdue the 4 faults, and be delivered from the ocean of cyclic existence, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn Mount Meru, 4 lands, sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. Venerable holy in the space of your truth, thoughts of your wisdom and love. Let fall the rain of the profound and extensive Dharma, in whatever form is suitable for subduing sentient beings. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami.
I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by the merit I create by listening to the Dharma. I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by the merit I create by listening to the Dharma. I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by the merit I create by listening to the Dharma. I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. So let's cultivate our motivation. When we think of bodhicitta, the aspiration to become a fully enlightened Buddha in order to most effectively benefit sentient beings, it's such an incredible, magnificent state of mind that it's just lovely to think of, wow, what would it be like to have that and to have it spontaneously. So, as with anything, we have to create the causes for that mental state. And two of the biggest things that obscure us at the beginning from generating it is attachment to friends and aversion to enemies. Yeah, in other words, bias. How we break sentient beings into groups of good and bad, people we're close to, who we like and trust, people who we don't know, so we don't care about them very much, the strangers. And then, of course, people that we think are just horrible through and through. And we have a lot of anger and often to the point of despising or hating them. So clearly, as long as we have, attachment, apathy, and anger, it's going to be very difficult to generate compassion for each and every sentient being. And without that compassion, bodhicitta is out of reach. So we have to start at the beginning, trying to even out our emotional response to others and really look deeply into our own mind. Why do we favor some people and why do we discriminate against others? Yeah. So take a moment and check that out in your experience, in your life. And then remember that all of these beings simply are trying to be well and happy and avoid any kind of pain or discomfort, mental or physical. And that's what motivates everybody's actions. So we're all the same in that respect. And so in that regard, how can we favor some living beings over others? And also when we think of multiple lifetimes, that in previous lives, the people who are friends now have been our enemies or strangers. The people who are enemies now have been very beloved people in previous lives. People who are strangers now, some have become enemies, some become friends. So in the big perspective, we can't really say that anybody is a true friend forever and ever over countless lifetimes, and somebody else is completely despicable over countless lifetimes. Because these roles, they change, they're fluid. So again, why cherish some and dislike others? In that way, cultivate compassion for all living beings equally, and use that compassion to motivate yourself to attain the highest awakening in order to benefit them. So that meditation on equanimity is quite an important one, and we can see when we do it that our attitude towards other living beings begins to change, and we become much more open, much less biased. Yeah. Now, one thing that can be difficult with it is if we think, okay, over the span of many lifetimes, everybody's been our friend, everybody's been an enemy, and everybody's been a stranger. But when we imagine that, we think of the person in this lifetime, let's say, who we really love, and then we imagine them looking exactly like that, being in the exact same role with us, and we are the same person that we are now. But this is now 50 million eons ago. Yeah. And how did that person, they were still my loving mother, my loving partner, my loving father, all those years ago, and we look exactly the same. No, okay, when we transmigrate from life to life, yeah, there is a continuity, but there is not a soul or an essence or something that really is the person that goes from one life to the next. Yeah, so we're born in vastly different, very different personalities, different circumstances, because of karma. We have so many different imprints on our mind stream, and depending on what ripens at a certain time, there we are. Yeah. So don't think of, okay, there's my enemy of this lifetime. And yes, it's 25 eons ago, but they look exactly the same, and I look exactly the same, and they're bullying me on the playground just like they did in this lifetime. No, okay? Your previous continuity, their previous continuity, both different people, yeah? And so, you were in different, related to each other in different ways in a previous life, yeah? Just as in this lifetime, if all you need is a change in a situation, and how you relate to somebody is very different. And one example, for those of you who have traveled in India, I think you'll know what I mean. When you take the Indian trains or Indian buses, you want to have a traveling companion, because when you go to the loo, somebody else needs to look at your bag, at your stuff. And when they go, you need to look for their stuff. It's very difficult traveling alone, because you can't take your baggage into, the bath. Well, you can't even call them bathrooms in many situations, okay? So people that you may not usually talk to or like, or just you would look at them and say, when you find yourself traveling together on the same train in India for a long distance, they become your traveling companion, and you trust them to watch your stuff. You talk to them because it's somebody who speaks the same language as you do, and you get to know them when you're traveling together. And lo and behold, my goodness, you can have a good conversation. They're interesting. They're nice people. Oh, how did that happen? Yeah, it's just a change in situation. Yeah. And from one life to the next, change in situation, change in roles. Yeah. And then our whole attitude towards somebody changes. Yeah. So it's good to remember these things and not put others into hard and fixed categories. Yeah. Especially, we like so much, although we are not psychiatrists or psychotherapists, we feel that we're privileged to similarly diagnose people. Yeah. And so somebody we don't like, they're passive aggressive, they're bipolar, they're schizophrenic, they're psychotic. People we like, nothing's wrong with them. Yeah. And then we put people into categories. And that's really not very fair, is it? Yes, diagnoses can be an adjective that explains some things about a person, but it is not who they are. Yeah. And they change. So we shouldn't get caught up in that kind of thing. Yeah. And in a similar way, the political affiliations, not getting caught up in, well, are you red or are you blue? Yeah, nobody's allowed to be purple anymore. You gotta be red, you gotta be blue. Yeah, and are you on my team or not? And then we think we know everything about somebody because of their current viewpoints. I had an interesting experience a couple of weeks ago. Somebody who had been to the Abbey several times and who I had seen in other situations, who was just over the hill in favor of Trump and just thought Trump was the best thing that was going to happen to this country, and we would have, try and kind of talk about, not putting people in categories. It was difficult, and he was just, it's like this, and you people are wrong. And I got a note of apology a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, saying, I'm sorry that I put forth views like that. My look on the political situation in the country has changed right now. Yeah, and I am not now, and this is what I think was very good about what he wrote, was now I'm looking at policies, not rhetoric. Yeah, and I'm letting policies influence what I believe, not just words. Okay, so I thought that was amazing, just how people can change and how you can have a good conversation with somebody who has very different views than we do if we give that person a chance and maybe don't start talking about the difference in views, start talking about things that we have in common. Yeah, and it really can open a door. Yeah. So these things are important, Bodhi. Tomorrow we're talking about aspiring bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. So it's not like, oh, in the spiritual domain, yes, I want to become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings because I have so much compassion, for those poor slobs who can't get their lives together. No, that's not compassion, that's condescension. Okay, compassion is very different. Yeah. But we've really got to start practicing with equanimity with the people in front of us on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And if you live or work in a place where you don't talk to everybody there, try making it part of your Dharma practice to talk to everybody who lives there. Yeah. You may be surprised. Some of the people in your workplace may turn out to be very different than what you've thought them to be like when you talk to them. Yeah. And so, open our minds. Our minds are sometimes really like creaky, rusted doors that won't open at all. They're just like stuck. No! Yeah. They say that we first learned the words no at 2 years old. That's why they call it the terrible twos, because 2-year-olds, that's their favorite word, no. So some of us, just maybe people love to talk about the inner child. I'm not so keen on that. But maybe you have an inner child that's just sitting there going, no, 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 gimme, no, gimme, no, yeah. We laugh, but as adults, it's the same mind. We just have different external behavior that tries to cover it up. Okay, because we know it's not so polite to say, gimme, 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 or no, but we still say that, but we say it in much more polite ways. Yeah, like it would be so helpful if you, who have so many talents, could help me in this respect. Yeah, that's code for gimme. Yeah. And code for no is, well, I would really, really like to be able to help you and do this. But, there's certain factors in my life and, my little toe is just killing me and I can't do anything today because of my little toe. I have to stay in bed, but, my heart goes out to you and I would really like to help. That's code for no. Okay, so, yeah, we have to kind of open our minds. I'm not saying that we never say no, and I'm not saying that we never, ask people for help. We do, and, there's certain situations where we have to say no, and certain situations where we have to say, please help me, or give me this. But, we should watch the intensity of the mind and check up if it's gone beyond 2 years old or not. Yeah. In this whole discussion, there's one word that bothers me, and that's boundary. Yeah, I realize it's a word used in psychology a lot now, setting very clear boundaries. The reason that word disturbs me is, first of all, do we ever have clear boundaries, or do boundaries change according to the situation, according to our mood, according to the person. Yeah. In other words, we have to set a boundary, and they cannot go beyond this. Oh, that's like, my goodness, I set a boundary. I don't care what you care, but I'm setting a boundary, and this is it, and don't you dare go beyond it, because that's breaking my rules of the universe. Yeah? And you're bad if you do that, and I'm not going to let you do that, okay? We can't create boundaries for other people. I mean, you can create them, but then it just kind of makes it difficult. I think we have to be, instead of boundaries about what they can do and not do, what we need is more awareness of how I respond to different situations. And when my responses are part of creating the problem between us, and I have to work on my responses. Yeah, because in the end of the day, that's the only thing that we can change is ourselves. What are you going to do, Say, don't you dare call me again. I have a boundary. I'm not, you are toxic. Oh, I love that one. Yeah, when people are toxic. Really? I thought some of Donnie's remedies for how to cure COVID, that's what I assume is toxic when you're taking horse tranquilizer. Okay, that's toxic. But another human being is toxic? They have the Buddha nature. How can they be toxic? Yeah. What they aren't poisonous, our confused emotions, our lack of clarity, our getting hooked in because of our emotional makeup. That's what we got to work on. Yeah, somebody else isn't toxic. Yeah, if you see them toxic, and you just, there's a boundary, I'm never coming close to you, you have automatically said, I will not cultivate bodhicitta. If you leave one sentient being out of the field of your compassion because they are inherently evil and toxic and disgusting, forever and ever, 50 million eons ago, when we were turkeys together, you were toxic and you pecked me then. My goodness, we like to hold grudges, huh? When we have attitudes like that, we are limiting ourselves. We are closing our own hearts. Yeah. So I think we need to learn to, yeah. Okay. As long as I'm telling you words that I don't like. Okay, another word I don't like, sin. Okay, I think we should ban sin and fault from English language. Yeah, because they both are so imbued with grasping at true existence, just like boundary. This is it. Yeah, but the word sin is so heavy, and then people just feel like, oh, I'm helpless. I'm hopeless. And again, that's not true. So let's take away these words that have that kind of connotation. Yeah. Actions produce bad effects. Actions harm others. Does that mean that a person is sinful? Yeah. And same with fault. Whenever there's a conflict, it's somebody else's fault. And if it isn't their fault, then it's my fault. And if it's their fault, they are inherently bad, irredeemable. But, oh my goodness, if it's my fault, I'm responsible for everything, then I'm the hopeless, irredeemable person. Again, this is not true. And to look at people, including looking at ourselves in that way, it's, this is one of the namtok that we were talking about yesterday. Okay, so be careful when these things come up. Okay. Did we do the prayers? Okay. That was a long time ago, I forgot. Yeah? It's like taking your vitamins, Do you remember every day that you took them? It's something you do so often that from one day to the next you forget whether you did it or not. So that's why they have those nice little things with days on it. Yeah. Okay, so the verse where we ended yesterday that I want to continue at was verse 36. When I am greedy but bereft of material wealth, it is the wheel of destructive karma returning on me for failing to give charity or making offerings to the three jewels. From now on, I will exert effort in giving and offering. Okay, so when we talk about charity, the phrase here, fail to give charity, that is helping people who are ill, disadvantaged in one way or another, suffering at the moment. So these beings are called the field of compassion, and they are especially, there's certain groups of people that the karma we create with them is stronger, is very strong. And with people in the field of compassion, that's, they're strong objects of how we relate to them. So it includes also our parents and some teachers, whoever have helped us in, well, actually they belong more to the field of merit here, but field of compassion, particularly people sick, injured, depressed, discounting themselves, grieving, and so, reaching out and being charitable to them. So sometimes it's financial charity, sometimes it's offering somebody a place to stay, it's giving extra food to somebody on the street or to the food bank, it's volunteering in different organizations. So these kinds of things create a lot of merit, yeah. And when we talk about purification and doing a remedial action, these kinds of charitable things are examples of remedial action, which is one part of doing the 4-part purification practice. Okay, so that's the field of compassion. Then there's the field of kindness. So that's parents and teachers. Again, people who have helped us, good friends. And so, returning that, reciprocating that, not leaving them out of it. Because sometimes you have people who are so involved with social justice that they ignore their own family. Yeah, so you don't want to get into that kind of thing. And then the field of merit is the 3 jewels and our spiritual teachers. And so they're called the field of merit because of our ability to create very strong merit with them, and because they have done so many meritorious actions, and they have the Dharma understanding, and they are sharing that with us. And so here we we make offerings. So some offerings are physical ones, you know. Now, I've noticed that we had one man here who loved to make offerings to the Buddha in the form of towers. And I see that some people have continued that tradition. I'm always a little bit nervous that what's on top is going to fall over and smash on the floor. You don't need to make offerings built like towers, you know. You can just put it on the altar in a, you know, in a pleasing arrangement. But when we make offerings, we should give what is good quality. So not like buy a whole bunch of, well, in this case, pears, and then offer the ones that are old on the altar, the bruised ones on the altar, but keep the nice, fresh, unbruised ones for ourselves. We shouldn't do like that, you know, offer the best quality. Also, a thing to be aware of is when somebody gives us something and says, oh, you're going to Bodh Gaya, here are some candles. Please light those candles around the stupa at Bodh Gaya, okay? If somebody gives us an object to make an offering with it to some other place, we need to give that object, yeah. So it's not like, oh, my lights went out, I'm gonna use the objects for my house so I can see, and then I'll buy some other lights to offer in Bodh Gaya. Not like that, you know. And similarly, if somebody says, here's some fruit to offer at the temple, we offer that fruit. We don't like eat the fruit when we're hungry and then buy some replacements, okay? When somebody gives you money to offer in another place, I mean, if you were to take US dollars to Bodh Gaya, you know, you need to actually convert that to rupees and then, you know, offer the rupees to the temples and so on, unless some of them take dollars. So yeah, material things is one way of offering. Another way of offering is offering service, okay? So, you know, to keep the Dharma alive, to spread the Dharma, we need to do things, okay? So volunteering at a Dharma center, volunteering at a temple is one way to offer service, you know, and our teachers usually have projects they're engaged in, so volunteering to help with those projects is something that's very good, okay? And then the third kind of generosity is giving the Dharma. So yeah, you can go outside and chant mantra to the ticks, yeah, and the mosquitoes. Not to mention that the chipmunks are kind of cute, you know, and there's lots of robins and chickadee-dee-dee-dee-dees now. So, you know, you can offer the Dharma to them in that way. Okay, so that's ways to make offerings. And the whole idea behind offering, especially material offering or putting things on the altar, which is a wonderful practice to get used to doing every day, just as part of your morning routine. I mean, you offer yourself whatever you eat or drink first in the morning, yeah. We should make offerings of food and drink, you know, to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, yeah. And it becomes part of your morning routine. It's part of connecting to the three jewels, remembering our refuge, remembering what is important in our life. Yeah, so it's a very, very good practice to do. Okay. Then, yeah, so we've part of the problem of being greedy but in financial despair is failing to make offerings, yeah, and failing to be charitable to others. Okay, so now we make the determination to exert effort to giving to sentient beings and an offering to the three jewels. Okay. So offering, another thing about offering is as our mind changes to see that it makes other people happy when we're generous, when we give things, then the more we see that, and instead of seeing, giving as now I don't have it because I gave it, to see it as I gave it and wow, somebody else is happy. And then your own mind changes and you feel happy because somebody else, was made happy by some small thing that you did. Yeah. And so learning to like His Holiness says, when he gives, the reward, or what the kickback, because we all want a kickback, oh, I give you a Christmas present, okay, and I assessed how much I'm spending on my Christmas present to give you, because I don't want to spend more than the Christmas present you gave me last year. Yeah. Anybody familiar with that, or was that only my family? I suspect what goes on in one family goes on in multiple families. Yeah, but learning to rejoice in our own virtue. Yeah. So His Holiness says when he does something for somebody else, when he helps them or gives them aid or teaches or whatever, he says, not even expecting or even wanting a thank you, yeah, but just, he says the reward, the kickback is your own happiness at having an open heart and giving, your own happiness at seeing somebody else happy. Yeah. And so I know for me, this was a big game changer. And I would tell you all my cashmere maroon sweater story, but I think most of you have heard it before. If not once, then 100 times. And if you haven't heard it, you can ask somebody else. I'm sure that they have it memorized, okay? There's a couple of stories here. That's one story. My Italian story, you know by heart also. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so next verse, 37. When I am ugly and mistreated by my companions, it is the weapon of destructive karma returning on me. For constructing ugly images while in the turmoil of anger, from now on I will be patient when creating sacred images. Okay, so situations where you are ugly and as a result people mistreat you. Okay, so this could be physically ugly, yeah, having some kind of what are the polite term now, being other-abled, or disabled, people can use again, but I'm sorry, I don't always know the right words, but I think you know what I mean. And then when we're in those kind of situations, and then being treated differently, being discriminated against, yeah. And what's the cause of that? Well, in a previous life or earlier this lifetime, we made images, let's say, of the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, and so on. But we made them rather disfigured or not in right proportion. We did our own artistic interpretation of them. And in the tradition, this is not looked upon well, yeah, because you're making an ugly image of the Buddha. Now, somebody's going to say, well, what, you think Yamantaka is gorgeous? You know, he's one of these wrathful deities, you know, with fangs and fire and, you know, wielding implements and, you know, well, yeah, he's rather scary. But we're not talking about making images of Yamantaka, because and just and even a perfect image of him being something negative. Yeah, because he's a Buddha and his wrath is not directed towards sentient beings, it's directed towards our afflictions. Okay, but if we make an image of Chenrezig, yeah, we want 4-armed Chenrezig, but we add a few extra arms here and there. That's not good. Or we make Chenrezig, you know, out of proportion, or the face is kind of distorted in one way or another. So they're saying that is a cause of this. Also, you know, being ugly and facing social, you know, being not treated very well by other people is due to our own anger. Because when we're angry, we don't have a very nice expression on our face, do we? And, you know, so if you're a very angersome person showing that face to people, then that's very often how they relate to you. Yeah. If your speech is full of anger, yeah, full of grievances, full of blame, yeah, then that's creating the karma, you know, in future life to continue with that kind of habit, to continue being treated poorly by others who, you know, kind of go like this. Okay, now I know in the present circumstances, sometimes, well, you know, this is what bullies do, okay? And then you see a bully succeeding in terrorizing everybody, okay? Either on the playground with other kids, or, you know, as a somebody who's leader of a gang, you know, how one of the leaders, they just, something just happened with one of the cartels in Mexico. I think they killed one of the big capos, you know, and some people think, great, you know, but those people, you know, they may have had a lot of power, but they have also created a lot of negativity, yeah. So they may succeed in making other people afraid. You know, we see that in our own country, how politics is used to terrorize people instead of to benefit them. You know, but to see that that is creating the karma to oneself in a future life, have other people mistreat you, look down on you, not treat you equally, yeah. Yeah, people who are disabled sometimes face a lot of discrimination. We have one friend in Singapore, Alan, yeah, who is incredible. He has cystic fibrosis, cerebral palsy. I get those two mixed up. He has cerebral palsy, and he's had it since he was very, very young. Okay. He is the vice president, one of the vice presidents of Deutsche Bank in Singapore. A vice president of a bank, somebody with cerebral palsy. He's an amazing person, yeah. And in Singapore, he's really been an outstanding advocate for people who, you know, are other abled, who are disabled. And he just goes ahead living his life. He's married to a woman who is not disabled, yeah, and he really, yeah. I wish we could bring him here and people could get to know. Really, he's quite amazing, and just really works so much to benefit his own community. And of course, he's a banking executive. So he is showing through his own example to people who, might look down on people who are disabled. He's showing through his example that no, don't do that. Yeah. Okay. But, people like to draw the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so on. When you're in prison, the inmates like to do that. I'm doing a book about the prison work, and we'll include some of the things that they do. They don't have access to the grids, but if you are not in prison and have access to grids, at least regarding the Tibetans, there is a certain way in which you paint or draw or sculpt a figure, and there's certain proportions of how they are. And so if you ever learn Tibetan art, the first thing you learn is how to draw the grid, the lines that are going to be the foundation of how you paint, that particular deity. Yeah. So they're talking about that as like a beautiful image rather than kind of doing it in our own fashion. Yeah. To give you another example, this isn't of painting images, but how some people want to change things, is somebody contacted me and said, my friend and we developed the most beautiful chant for Tara mantra, but we need to add a couple of extra syllables to make the chant work. Is that okay? No, it's not okay. This is Tara's mantra. This is what Tara said when she was in deep states of meditation on the nature of reality. And, we as limited, confused beings we're not at the scope of being Buddhas where we can go around and change what a Buddha has said so it fits our melody. Okay. Yeah. Or people say, can I make Chinrez? He's white, can I make him, a different color? And, or, Tara's green, green ladies, I don't know, it just doesn't feel good. Yeah. Well, also, don't do that, change the deity, but look for other forms of the deity. There's a red Tara, there's a white Tara, there's 108 Taras. I'm sure you can find one of them that you like. You don't need to take green Tara and make her look different, okay? So similar with the other deities, okay? Okay. Okay, so now the resolve was from now on, I will be patient when creating sacred images. Yeah, so create them in beautiful ways. Verse 38, when attachment and anger erupt, no matter what I do, it is the weapon of destructive karma returning on me for allowing my untamed negative mind to become rigid. From now on, I will root out you, the I, meaning the inherently existent I that we grasp at as existing. So when attachment and anger erupt no matter what I do. You ever had that experience? Yeah, you're in a bad mood. Everybody you see stinks. Yeah, but you really want to head for the snack counter, and you can fill yourself with sweets or with whatever your food, your comfort food is, and much attachment for that. Yeah. So we see, or sometimes our mind's out of control just with attachment. Yeah. And I want this, and I want this, and I want to go to this concert, and I want to travel here and there, and I want this kind of food, and I want to be with these people, and I don't want to be with those people. Get them away, and get rid of the mosquitoes, get rid of the ticks. I can't stand them. I just want cats that purr and sit in my lap, and when we get in moods like this, you ever been in a mood like that? If you don't think you've been in a mood like that, ask somebody you live with. And they will tell you, yes, you have been in moods like that. Yeah, where your attachment and your anger they explode, And we're so moody. It's like, I'm so happy today, and I want this, and I'm sweet because, she made carrot cake and she made chocolate chip cookies, but she put too much sugar in the chocolate chip cookies again this time. Oh, I'm so mad. How can you ruin chocolate chip cookies? And you just get so opinionated, about every little thing. Yeah. And I was going to use an example from the Buddha Hall, but I won't. I will. Because my mind is, the day when they delivered, because we had to, the problem was that a pipe in the attic froze, it broke, and the water leaked down. Okay, and that's why we've been going through all this repair work. So we figured out that the way they had designed the installation in the, how can I always forget that word. Yeah, I have some phobia about that insulation. Yeah, that it wasn't, that there was a better way to design it. So we designed it, and then they had to take out all the insulation from that whole roof. It went in the garbaggio, and the day they brought these big things of bright pink, beautiful insulation and put them right smack in the middle of the main hall, I was so happy. Oh, the insulation has arrived. It's going to go up. Now we're going to be insulated against these things, against another flood. Well, the insulation arrived when? Huh? Yeah, it was so long ago that none of us can remember. And it sat in the main hall for a while. And then, because they needed to put the carpet in the main hall, they moved the insulation out on the deck. And so the insulation that you loved when it arrived now was blocking the walkway. You couldn't even circumambulate the deck. So we had to move some of the insulation so that we could at least walk by it. And in construction language, everything is going to happen next week. When you ask, when is this going to happen? Next week. So next week is also code for next month or next year. Okay? So, yeah, just you have to learn languages, what people mean when they say things. And, next week in Constructionese means I have no idea. It's not on my radar. I don't care, but it'll happen next week. At least you need to think that. Get off my back. Yeah. So anyway, the insulation is still there. But it's a pretty color pink, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, and that chipmunk sure liked it. I hope he wasn't crawling inside the bags, but he was certainly running. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because he knew his way around those bags. Yes. Yes, well, we offered residence to people who are critters who are homeless. Yeah. Okay. So, ugly and mistreated. And now, attachment and anger erupt in us no matter what we do. Oh, and what's the problem? By allowing our untamed negative mind to become rigid. Rigid means grasping a true existence, thinking it is like this way and there is no other way and it's got to be this way. Yeah. And when we have strong attachment and strong anger, our mind is quite rigid, isn't it? Yeah. I want this and it's got to be this way. And I don't like that and get it away. It's wrong, it's bad, And then, yeah, we're quite moody, aren't we? Yeah, moody. Up, down, up, down, up, down. If you think you're a permanent person, your moodiness proves that you are not. But that doesn't mean our moodiness is something good. Yeah. Moody, it's difficult with moody people, isn't it? Because you never know who you're going to be talking to. Are they going to be receptive or are they going to be unreceptive? Yeah, because one day they're one day the next. Yeah, but we aren't like that, are we? We are always receptive, polite, always in a good mood, willing to help. You aren't? Really? Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? One person who tells the truth. Yeah, but the rest of us, we're always good-natured, sincere, easy to get along with, easy to talk to. Yeah, disponibile in Italian. We want to help, we're willing. Except when they ask in that kind of voice, when they ask me to do this, when they don't make 3 prostrations and give me a present before they ask me to do something, when I have done it more than anybody else and it's not fair that I'm asked to do it again, when I'm not on the rota, when somebody who is on the rota asks me to take their place. But other than those situations, I'm very happy and easy to get along with. Okay. Good to do a little bit of checking about our own behavior, huh? And it might shed some light on our family relationships and why we have some difficulty with people in the family. Not that they're the moody ones, but maybe, we're the ones who are very rigid, yeah, and who express our opinions very strongly and cannot hear otherwise. or maybe we're people, our anger erupts and we love to guilt trip people. Yeah, you know how to guilt trip people? Yeah, anybody else Jewish besides me? Yeah, if you're Jewish, you know how to guilt trip. I think the Catholics are kind of good at that too. Yeah, Catholics, yeah, Protestants, do you guilt trip? Yeah, Protestants, I'm seeing some Protestants, yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, you guilt, what is it? What do they call it? When, there's a term for it, of course I can't remember it. But when you say people are holier and better because they're rich, what's that? There's a term, these big mega churches that are teaching you how to be rich. Prosperity, prosperity what? Yeah, prosperity gospel. Okay? Like God rewards you with being wealthy, which means if you're not wealthy, it's because, you're full of sin and God's not rewarding you. That's kind of Protestant guilt trip, huh? Yeah? Oh, all the Protestants are looking blank-faced.
Huh? It's a special branch, I think.
A special, yeah, it's not our branch. It's other people. Yeah, of course. Our branch of Protestantism is nice and receptive, but those people are the ones that guilt trip. Okay. Yeah, but we know how to guilt trip people. Yeah, make them feel bad, dominate. Yeah, and we know how to ignore people and just make them feel like they don't exist. Yeah. We're mad at somebody, or we're in a bad mood. All day. That's what we're like. Not looking at anybody. Yeah? You ever been like that for a whole day? Yeah? Oh, it's so nice for the people who live with you. Yeah. Okay. So what's the result of that? We continue that habit in future lives of when attachment and anger erupt no matter what I do. It continues that. We do it in this life, we do it in next life. Yeah. One of our new nuns gave a BBC and she was talking about one affliction. And I was really impressed by the way she thought, because, one of our new nuns. And she said, I don't want to have this characteristic in my future life. So I have to work with it now. Yeah, I thought that was amazing, thinking of future lives and saying, I don't want to have this problem in future lives. So I'm going to deal with it now and not take it on with me. And I think that's a wonderful attitude to have. And that really encourages us to deal with whatever problems we have now. Because, do we really want to continue to have that problem in the future? And our rigid ideas, our rigid emotions, our rigid whatever is what perpetuates that kind of those kind of mental factors arising in our mind and that kind of behavior. Yeah. So, this is what's nice about the whole thing of karma and its effects, is we can think about the kind of person that we want to be, the kind of experiences we want to have, and then start creating the causes for those now by practicing the thought training and transforming our own minds now. And then we see, the difference and it makes our present life and the difference it'll make in our future lives too. Okay, so we will stop there. Wow, we're on verse 40, right? Didn't I just did 39, didn't I? I did 38. Oh, yes, I skipped 39. Okay, we're on 39. Okay. So let's dedicate.
Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May the born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
We can all rise while our abbess leaves the hall, and Selden has a message for both our in-person audience and the online audience.
So I was wanting to talk about generosity, giving, dana, many words for it, and how the generosity of giving money or services to a sangha like this benefits us with our good feelings towards ourselves, but it creates immeasurable merit in our future, in this life and in next lives, and it allows us to understand the Dharma better, the more merit we accrue, and not only are we helping ourselves, if we give to the Sangha in this manner, then we're helping all the people that come here that are suffering. I know over the years, I've been coming here for many years, and I've gotten fired and needed some comfort, and even though I wasn't necessarily practicing the Dharma on myself back then so much, just being here was really good for my mind. It was like a refuge. So your donations not only benefit yourself, but the many, many people that are online, all the teachings the Abbey puts online. It's like if you put your money in a bank and it's compounded. That's the way the merit is, because all the many, many people that you will help after that. And so if you would like to donate, there's back behind the Kuan Yin statue back there, and down in the book nook in the corner, there are boxes you can put envelope in. Online, there's a donate button on the homepage of the Abbey website, and not only will your donation will also help the Buddha Hall, which is not yet completed and needs furnishings and many other things. So, yeah, and if you decide to donate, they say in the if you're practicing the 6 perfections, if you do it with a mind that thinks that I am doing this in order to benefit all sentient beings, that is a true perfection if you do it with a mindset like that. So, thank you.